U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has called on the UN Security Council to indefinitely extend the arms embargo on Iran.
This chamber has a choice: stand for international peace and security, as the United Nations founders intended, or let the arms embargo on the Islamic Republic of Iran expire, betraying the UN's mission and its finest ideals, which we have all pledged to uphold. If you fail to act, Iran will be free to purchase Russian-made fighter jets that can strike up to 3,000-kilometer radius, putting cities like Riyadh, New Delhi, Rome, and Warsaw in Iranian crosshairs. Iran will be free to upgrade and expand its...
Pompeo claimed Iran is already violating the arms embargo with exporting missiles to Ansarullah fighters in Yemen. Russia's UN envoy Vasilina Benzia slammed the U.S. policy of unilateralism, saying the U.S.'s maximum pressure policy is aimed at toppling the Iranian government. The Russian envoy said the U.S. actively undermines the deal and even threatens other signatories not to comply with it. Nebenzia, however, said Iran has remained committed to the accord despite Washington's pressure and threats. He stressed there are no legal grounds for the U.S. to raise the issue of Iran's arms embargo at the Security Council.
This chamber has a choice.
We would like to reiterate that there are neither legal nor other grounds to raise this issue of arms embargo in the Security Council. The approval-based procedures for transfer of armaments to and from Iran have been designed as temporary measure, and their extension after 18 October 2020 has never been either envisaged or discussed. Given all this, it would be at least naive to suggest that there can be a room for engaging the Security Council on this issue.
China has also rejected a U.S. bid to extend the arms embargo on Iran. Chinese envoy Zhang Jun said that Washington could not legally trigger a snapback of UN sanctions since it withdrew from the nuclear deal. Earlier this month, the U.S. circulated a draft resolution on the measure to the 15-member council. Iran arms embargo expires October 18th under the 2015 nuclear deal, which was endorsed by UN Resolution 2231. Washington has threatened to trigger at the Security Council a return of all UN sanctions on Iran if it fails to extend the arms embargo on the Islamic Republic. Joining us out of Ontario from on the story is Jason Unruhe, political commentator. Hey there, Jay. Hope you're doing well. Pleasure to have you back on Press TV. Your thoughts on this, please.
It's very interesting that Mike Pompeo would describe Iran as a threat and then proceed to list several countries that Iran doesn't have any hostilities with. I mean, it's strange that you would take those countries and say that somehow they would be a target of Iranian air power if they were to purchase military technology from Russia. I mean, it's frankly baffling. It doesn't make any sense, other than the context of trying to portray an image of Iran being a threat to the world when it certainly isn't. It's very laughable coming from the United States, the empire which has invaded a multitude of countries over how many centuries is it now that the U.S. has been around and invading countries? So it's extremely hypocritical for the U.S. to just make a demand of the UN saying that they want this or they want that according to the JCPOA that they already withdrew from, over a year ago. It's been over a year since they withdrew from it. And they said they're not going to do it and they want a new agreement, but then make demands on the agreement that already exists. I mean, this is simply nonsensical. I mean, it's very characteristic of the way that Trump has done business since he has been president. Withdraw from the agreement, then act like he's still in the agreement. I mean, it's frankly logically mind-boggling because it doesn't really make any sense. But it shows the real scope of what it is that the United States is trying to do here. They're trying to demonize anybody who is counter to their interests in the region. The United States, of course, is an imperialist power that has been trying to take over several countries throughout the Middle East. Iran has been one of the countries that has been anti-imperialist, one that opposes countries controlling other countries, either by military or economic means. So this resistance to U.S. domination and control is perceived as a threat. And then, of course, they would go to the international body, the UN, which was supposed to be set up in order to deal with antagonisms between different countries, and then turn around and use them as a weapon against countries that they see as a challenge to their perceived right to rule. So I think that's very much the actual case of what's going on here right now, and that's the way that the U.S. has operated since, frankly, time immemorial. And the world and Iran is frankly right to be upset at this, for people who have remained in the agreement even when they had no obligation to do so.
And Jay, I mean, we don't have a lot of time left, but I want to get the second question out to you. I mean, we hear Pompeo speak. I mean, you just mentioned, to your point, he does a really great job of trying to demonize Iran. My question to you, if Iran is so far in the wrong and Washington is so far in the right, why is Washington using its political clout and pressure to get its allies on board with its policy against Iran?
Well, frankly, they're doing so because there's no logical basis for it. If it were as simple as you described, then there would be no need to use such blatant falsehoods in order to demonize the country in the eyes of the U.S. allies. Of course, many other countries, the U.K., Saudi Arabia, Israel, etc., have very much a vested interest in undermining any attempt by Iran to essentially exercise its own right to self-determination. And that's what really this is about. This is about trying to turn Iran from a country trying to determine its own destiny into some kind of great evil that's trying to spread across the Middle East for God only knows what purpose it exists in the imaginations of such individuals. So I believe that the links that they're going to right now to cause these kind of problems, and to create these kind of falsehoods, this is the very reason why.
Thank you for joining us, Jason Unruhe. They're joining us from Canada.